So we are back to working on the individual questionnaire, and I was just telling you at the end of the last video how important it is to know the 4 different types of attachment styles, to know that you get your attachment style from your parents and how they attach to you. And so I will work on doing another follow-up training on the 4 different attachment styles so that you can be familiar with them, so that you can maybe even incorporate them into this and kind of give the family a brief synopsis of what the 4 attachment styles are and help them try and identify maybe what their attachment style is. None of us are trained in attachment style assessments and how to do those. That's one of my goals someday, is to be trained in attachment style assessment, doing assessments, but I'm not yet. But we can at least try to help a family identify what their attachment style is, so that they know prior to this kiddo coming home how they attach. Okay. The very bottom of the second to last page in the individual questionnaire interview says, was there anyone else in your childhood that took care of you or that you saw as an important adult figure in your life? What was that relationship like for you? What is your relationship like with those individuals now? We have worked with many families where the child-parent relationship in their family of origin was not healthy. In those situations, it's a really strong proponent of the adoptive parent who was then the child, if they had someone else in their life that they're able to look up to, somebody else, a coach or a pastor or a teacher or somebody like that, that they could come alongside that could be that role model for them. It's a resiliency factor for them that they have somebody else in their life that is being that good role model for them. If you had difficult times during your childhood, were there positive relationships in or outside of your home that you could depend on during those times? How did you feel those connections benefited you then, and how might they help you now? This kind of goes hand in hand with the last question, in that if the home is not where this person was finding support and strength, were there people outside of the home providing them with support and strength? And then how are those connections now? Do they still have those connections with people, with those people that were in their life? The next question says, how have your childhood experiences influenced your relationships with others as an adult? Do you find yourself trying not to behave in certain ways because of what happened to you as a child? Do you have patterns of behaviors that you'd like to alter but have difficulty changing? This might be the most difficult question because it's a little more abstract and takes a little more abstract thinking on the part of the adoptive parents, and it's not just a black and white question. So the first part of it says, how have your childhood experiences influenced your relationships with others as an adult? They might not see that, and so it might take you some discussion with them to get to that place of, okay, well, you know, your dad abused you. What effect does that have on you now when it comes to your relationships with people? You know, your parents, came from a home with domestic violence. How does that affect how you relate to your spouse? Because it does. Even if they say, oh no, it doesn't affect me because I would never do that to my spouse. Okay, well, that's an effect right there. You are far removed from that, and you veer to the complete opposite because you don't want to be like that. So it affects us. Everything that happens affects us. And so getting them to recognize that might take some time, and you might need to explore it a little bit with the family. Do you find yourself trying not to behave in certain ways because of what happened to you as a child? That kind of goes back to the domestic violence example that I just gave. You know, a lot of times we had childhood trauma, and then we come away from it and we say, okay, I'm going to act the complete opposite because I so don't want to be that way that I'm going to be the exact opposite. So then being able to identify how that has affected them nowadays. Do you have patterns of behaviors that you'd like to alter but have difficulty changing? A lot of our patterns of behaviors are based on our experiences as a child or in our formative years. And so what kind of patterns of behaviors do they have that they don't like? You know, for instance, if they push people away because they don't want to get close to people because of abuse that they had, because a family member died. Maybe they can be really passive aggressive because it's a defense mechanism for them, because that's what they used. Maybe they are a jokester because that's their defense mechanism. So patterns of behavior that they don't like, that they want to change about themselves, but that they can't. Again, that might take some figuring out with you and exploring with you to get that out. What impact do you think your childhood has had on your adult life in general, including the ways in which you think of yourself and the ways you relate to your children? What would you like to change about the way you understand yourself and relate to others? Again, this is just going back to the fact of recognizing everything that happened to us when we were a child, good or bad, affects the person that we become when we're an adult. And family, the individual has to understand that. They have to know that, because guess what? Everything this child that they're about to adopt is going through is going to affect the person that they become. It's also going to affect their behaviors. You know, when the family understands circumstances determine behaviors, it's going to help them understand, you know what, this child that you're adopting saw their mother die before their eyes. And so when they come home and they're having a complete meltdown or tantrum, it can be related to the trauma that they incurred before they came into your family. And so helping families identify and see the circumstances that we experience can affect the behaviors that we have, not only in themselves, but then in the child that they adopt. It's going to affect the behaviors that they're seeing in this child. And when they personalize it and they say, okay, this happened to me, so of course it's going to happen to this child, it can help personalize the situation too. And it can help them see the child through completely different eyes, and that they're not viewing their child by their behaviors, they're viewing the child through the trauma and the difficulties that they've been through in their life. So that is the end of the individual questionnaire. Again, that one is probably the most heavy, so it might be one of the things that you do last, because it does talk about the traumas and the difficulties that the family individual has had in their life. So that might be good to do last with the family once you have gotten to the point of knowing them as well as you're probably going to get to know them in this process. So that is all of our new documents that we have. I'm going to work probably this week on getting that attachment style, because now that I have reviewed this, I feel like it's really important for you guys to also know the 4 different attachment styles and how they affect adoptive parents and just people in general, especially in our parenting. So I will probably do that attachment style training this week. But those are all the new documents. They are going to be in the home study packet. The questionnaires that families complete themselves are going to be in the home study packet for your state. So those will go into effect September 1st. Effective September 1st, you need to be using these interview questionnaires with the families when you interview them. So those will be provided to you as well by your state coordinator. So September 1st is the due date. So that gives us a little while to be able to get used to these, and of course it'll take you some time of asking families to get more comfortable, but hopefully you guys like these. Hopefully they help you in not only being as redundant as the previous interviews and questionnaires were, but also help you assess the family and help you better understand who the family is and what difficulties they might have. And hopefully we are better preparing our families through these new questionnaires and interviews. If you have any questions, if you have any concerns that you would like to address, feel free to interview me or to email me and ask me, or ask your state supervisor. But yeah, I hope you enjoy it. I hope they help you out a lot in your job and make your job easier and make you feel like you could do your job more efficiently. Okay, hope y'all have a great day. Thanks.